Aloha adventurers. Today on Elevate Thursday, we're talking about creative business versus a needs based business. And which one are you in? Did you even know there was a difference? So, we want to talk about the pros and cons of creating a creative business versus a needs based business, and the importance of knowing which one you are actually rolling with. Because, in the end, what I would love for you is to create a business that feels really fulfilling for you, really fun for you, and of course, thrives. So, let's dive in today. A creative business versus a needs based business. Let me just make a definition or a differentiation between the two of these, right? So we have on one side creative businesses. And what I mean by this are, if we really step into this definition, it's more like artists, okay? So artists create and they don't really think about what the market necessarily wants. They create purely from the heart. They create what they want and then they sell the thing that they have created, right? Versus a needs based business, which really looks at what would my market want and desire, and I will create a product based on that thing or a service based on that thing. Okay, so one has the creation process comes completely from them. The other, the needs based business, the creation process comes from listening to the market or the audience and creating a course or a program that fits the needs of their audience, right? So we're seeing the difference between the two. Now, what I see with a lot of my audience, you people, you beautiful entrepreneurs, you beautiful soulful entrepreneurs, is that there is a real tug between you having a creative business that is a business that where you are creating from soul-led tugs, where you are expressing yourself completely, and then you're getting advice that really you should be focusing on a needs based business that is creating only in accordance to what your audience needs. Now, personally, I actually, we're going to get to this at the end. So I'm going to hold my mouth for a moment and get to this at the end about my personal preference of one of them. What I'd like to do right now is to go into the pros and cons of each of these business types. Okay. So, one being the needs based business, where we create our services and our programs and our courses and all those things based on what our people need. And the pros and cons of a creative business that is creating whatever damn well you want to and then selling that to your people. Okay. So, and then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the possibility of how you can bring maybe the two together. And then, if you're into the home play, which is available for you to play with in the Soul Lead Business Revolution, which is my free group, then you can come and do some home play on that and explore needs based versus creative based business for yourself during the next week. All right, let's dive in. So, aloha for those who are watching live. Say hi to those who are watching live, all on the replay on Instagram and on Facebook. Thank you so much for your time. All right. So, pros and cons of a needs based business. Now, this is the traditional business model that we hear a lot, especially on the online space. Okay. So, again, the needs based type business is listen to what the market needs, listen to what your audience are really asking for, and then create your course, your service, your offers around what it is that they need. Right. So, let's start with the pros of this. The pros of this kind of work is that you're guaranteed to sell, okay? Because you've listened carefully to what your people need. They're asking for it. They're literally asking for it. And they're like, I need this from you, Nick. Please create this. And you're like, right, here's the thing. And they're like, great, I've been waiting for it, right? So it works well in terms of a selling point of view, right? The cons of this, however, and this is where I have personally struggled with this business model, is that it leaves very little room for your own creative process to come forward and for your own self expression to come forward in your business. So, and this is because you're constantly listening to what your people are asking for and what they're needing, and not necessarily creating from a soul place, creating from a place where you're ignited to create from, right? It's really just like listening to the outside noise, taking the outside noise, making something out of it. Whereas what I teach and what I believe that you guys want, which is why you follow me, which is why you're on my page all the time, which is why you're like part of my audience, is that we start to listen internally to what it is that we would like to create. And from that internal tug, then we are drawn to go and create something in the world, yeah, through our businesses. So pros and cons of the needs-based business. The pros are obviously it's easy to sell because you have created a service, a product, an offer that your people really desire. They want, they've told you it, right? The cons of it is that it can be rather restricting to your own creativity. Yeah. And it can stop you if you are constantly in the listening to what other people want, it can stop you from listening to what your soul actually desires to create through your business. And as you know, I am all about the soul leading you. So, so perhaps you're starting to see where I prefer and I don't really love the needs type based business. There we go. I just said it. All right. Hi to those who are watching on Facebook. Say hello to me. You know I love lots of comments. You know I love lots of questions. And those on Instagram as well. Please let me know if you have any questions, even after the fact of the live. I come back and I answer all of them for you. All right. So let's dive into the second type, which is the pros and cons of a creative business. So a purely creative business. And how I've defined this is that a creative business is one of which you create an offer, a product, something, a service of some sort that has really been ignited from you first. So you've checked in, you've listened to your soul, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to create this thing. Okay, so it's come from pure desire within yourself. The what do I want to call it? No, it's not coming to me. It doesn't matter. So the pros and cons of a creative business is this. Obviously, a pro is that you are going to start listening to your soul. You're going to start listening deeply in yourself to what it is that you actually want to create in your business, right? Not what you think you should create, not what you think you have to create in order to make money. Yeah. We're talking business, so we are talking about money because if you're not making money, you're not in a business, you're in a hobby, right? So the pros are you kind of move away from what it is that you need to do because everyone else is telling you to do that thing. And you start to deeply listen to what is it that I desire to create in this world? Yeah. What are the kind of offers that totally light me up and I could just get my energy behind and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is what I've got. This is what I've got, guys. Yeah. Guys, girls, people. So the pro of that is obviously you are listening to yourself. And if you have been following me for a while, you know that I am all about that. I am like, to live a satisfied life, like beyond business, because I believe business is a reflection of your life. To live a satisfied life, you need to start listening deeply to your desires and needs. Okay. The more that you get caught up into what other people want from you, and the more that you follow that, the more that you lose yourself. You lose your sense of self, you lose your connection to soul, and you end up living a life that you kind of like wake up from one day and go, what the actual am I doing here? Who am I? I don't even know who I am. I've lost myself. Now, I'm not just making that up, that dialogue. That happened to me. That has happened to multiple people of my clients, right? They've got to that point and they're going, oh my God, I'm totally lost, right? I don't want that for you. I would love for you to create a business that absolutely rocks, that makes you feel fulfilled, that makes you feel like you've reconnected to who you truly are. Yeah. So the pros of a creative business is that it really allows you to turn your attention inwards and ask, what is it that I would like to create? And then you go out and do that thing and you offer it to your audience. Yeah. Now, obviously, the cons of a creative business is that sometimes what we create isn't what our people want. Okay. So, like, they're like, you've got all your heart and soul behind it. You're like, oh my God, this is amazing because this is what I want to create. But your people are like, it kind of didn't hit the mark for me. Okay. So, as we've talked about before, there's pros and cons of both. Okay. So, we've got a creative business that allows you to really tap into yourself and create from the soul. And that is obviously really awesome. But then the cons of that is that sometimes your people aren't really into what it is that you're into, okay? And then you have the needs-based business, which really listen to um, outside dictating what it is that you create in your services. And what is really cool about that is that it sells really easily because your people are like, I've already wanted that. You're like, great, I'll create that. And then boom, because they need it, they want it, they already see it as something they desire. However, the cons of that is that you start to lose your connection to your own desires, your own creative process of how you would like to, what you actually want to put out in the world. And you start to put your attention and all of your value in the outside world. Yeah, are you seeing what I'm putting down here? Let me know in the comments. Aloha for those joining me on Facebook, hi for those on Instagram, and welcome to those watching the replay. Awesome, Edina, no worries. Come back to the beginning, capture the essence of this as since it is most timely for yourself at the moment. Yes, go back and catch the beginning of this. We're talking about creative business versus a needs-based business and knowing which one you are in, okay? So we've just gone through the pros and cons of a needs-based business and the pros and cons of a creative business. Now, if you hadn't guessed, I am a big fan of a creative business, right? And that is because I personally teach about following your soul. And your soul, it doesn't go, I wonder what other people want of me. It doesn't go, I wonder what other people need of me. Yeah. It the question that you can present to your soul is really about what is it that I desire to create in the world? What is the legacy that I want to leave? What is it that I want to offer to my audience? Yeah. And it always starts from inside you. Okay. So I am a huge fan and advocate of the creative business model rather than the needs based model. Yeah. And this is where I see a lot of my clients coming to me frustrated because they've really put their attention on creating a needs based business and they're going far out. I don't even love my business anymore. Like when I started it, it was awesome. And now I'm just like, what am I actually doing? Another con of the needs-based business, if you follow that model strictly, now we're going to get to a point where I'm like, well, you can use both, right? But if you follow the needs-based model strictly, you start to really, a lot of my clients, that is, tend to lose the why of the big purpose of why they started their business to start with, because they're really now creating, rather than creating from the soul, from an internal tug to go and do that thing, they're creating from what they're hearing outside in the outside world that they need to create. Okay. Can you feel the difference of that? Yeah. And obviously, if you're creating from that place, if you're creating from the outside and it becomes a constant to you, there comes a point when you feel disconnected from your business, and therefore the things that you have created to meet the needs of your audience start to lose your own special energy behind it. Yeah, it's hard to get your energy behind something that you don't actually really want to do. You're just like, I'm creating that because I know that my people want it, they've asked for it, and it's going to bring me some money. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's fun to start with because you get some cash, but then eventually you're like, I'm not feeling it anymore. Okay. So I am a big fan. Yay, I'm just catching up on some on a comment on Facebook. Thank you, Edina. Yes, that is why I hang out with you. Creativity is key and very feminine energy and is the power behind our drive when we are aligned. You are so freaking right. That is exactly that is why I like hanging out with me and hanging out with people like you, Edina, because we are doing a different model of business. Yeah. So I like that you've brought that up actually, because yeah, the creative business is like the feminine model of business. Yeah. The needs based business is the masculine model of business. Now, obviously, I prefer the creative business, and for these reasons, I'm gonna dot some down for you. So, one of them is that it really allows you to create something new. Yeah, something completely new that no one has thought of before. And this is because instead of you reaching out and going, I wonder what my people need and want from me. You are going inwards and going, what is it that wants to be birthed from me? What is it that wants to be created from me and let out into the world? Yeah. And in this as well, the creating the space for something new, we get to, in the creative business, really move with where our energy is directing ourselves to go, or where our soul is directing ourselves to go. Okay. So in this, we create something, we may let it go. Okay. We're like, okay, at one point, this was awesome. So a lot of you knew me as the soul led branding person for a long time. And that was awesome for the time. But now I'm like, moved on. Okay. So I have shelved that. It's now available as a self-paced course. I don't do it live. Not, I might do it one day, but not at the moment. And I've shelved that. And that whole creating space for something new allows something else to come up that feels really soul led in me. Yeah. So I love the creative based business because you are constantly creating and you're creating space for something new to come in. You're not hanging on to offers because this is what your people have asked of you and this is what they need. Okay. So remember, we're talking about a creative business model versus a needs based model, right? And in a creative business, it's like this constant evolution. Yeah. A constant evolution of who it is that you are and what it is that you're offering, and the tables are turning all the time. The amount of things that you're offering, the services, they're constantly evolving, and there's something new that's on the table, right? This is a creative business. This is the flow of the creative business. Yeah. And in that, as I said before, you are really letting go of things that no longer are lighting you up. You're then creating space for something new to come up because you are in constant evolution. Yeah. So that is aloha. Let me catch up. Okay, let me have a look at some of these. Hello, Rebel Gongster on Instagram. Hi there. Please watch from the start because you're going to understand what I'm talking about. But basically, I'm talking about a creative based business model or a needs based business model. Yeah. And the pros and cons of both. Now, obviously, I love the creative based business model because this is where your soul gets to speak to you. Yeah. And obviously, that also has knock on effects to your life. Like if you're living a life full of soul led tugs, so much more fun, so much more fulfilling, so much more joyful for you. Yeah. So, what have we got here on Facebook? Yes, my offerings are so much more juicy when it has my flavor. That is the key piece that draws the bees to the flower. Exactly. Like if you are only ever creating from an based on a needs based model, right? Only ever creating based on what your audience say, I need this from you. There is going to be a time, and I say this because I've been there. There is going to be a time when you're like, I'm creating this thing and I'm not really that into it. Yeah. So your energy is not behind that. And so you don't have that magnetic pull like a bee to the flower, as Edina put it. Yeah. Yes, I am understanding this so much more now. And it is like I've been given the invitation to my business and permission for me to explore what wants to come through. I am so stoked for you, Edina, for that, for you. I'm so stoked for you to have had that because you are allowed to create whatever it is you like. Now, there are some parameters. We're going to jump into what you need to do, be, and have in order for this to work really well for you. Yeah. Because remember, there is a balance between the feminine and the masculine. Yeah. That we can draw the gifts from both to make our businesses really successful. But I love that you have given yourself the permission to explore what wants to come through. Creativity, that is the key to creativity, is just like allowing yourself to express yourself. Yeah. And I know all of you who are watching, all of you who are in my audience are really, really about self expression and being authentic to yourself. Yeah, that is why you are here. That is why you set up your business. That is why you follow me and you listen to all my stuff I have to say. Thank you. Rebel Gongster, yes to fun and creativity. Absolutely. Yes, and Rebel Gongster, who is watching on Instagram, has a message for you, Edina. She says, love that, Edina. You draw me in with what you are creating. Beautiful. Okay, so we know that we are always creating in creative business, we are creating space for something new. We're creating things that feel from soul tugs. We're doing what lights us up, and we are always in constant evolution. Okay. So I always liken this to an artist. Like, if you think of an artist who is totally in the creative business, they are not creating because they're like, oh, I think the market's going to really like that thing. Yeah, that type of style. They find their style, they stick to their style, they put out their pictures, and they go, here's what I've got to offer. Okay. So if you start thinking of yourself as a creative business that runs like an artist, it becomes so much easier to understand the type of business that you are in. Yeah. So, what this really, to make this then, this business model a success, this is where we get to really look at, like, yeah, the key factors to this being a success for you is this. Okay. So, one of them is this business model really requires deep self trust, self belief, and courage. Okay. And why does it require that? It's because you are literally putting yourself on the table. You're like, here's me, here's my creation. Do you want it? Okay. And this requires a lot of self trust, because you're like, you don't know if the market is going to like it. Yeah. Because you're not creating your thing based off of your audience saying, I need that from you. You're creating it from a place in here, deep in your heart. Yeah. And so you need to really trust yourself, back yourself, that what you have created from your heart, from your soul, is valuable, is wanted, is needed, is desired by your audience. Yeah. Equally, self belief, deep self belief that what it is that you have is so, so awesome, and that it is allowed to be successful, that is allowed to be desired, that it is desired, that it is desirable. Those things are really required for you to make a creative business successful. Yeah. And of course, courage, because you need to have so much courage to put out your thing when it, you know, based on what is truly being ignited through you. So rather than filtering it through, like, okay, maybe I could filter it through what people need and make it a little bit more palatable for people based on what I see as being successful in business and what is working for other people who are in my industry, you take none of that on board and you go, what actually wants to come through me? And you lay that out on the table. It's a very vulnerable business model. Yeah. A creative business, feminine type business, an artist's way of doing business is a very vulnerable type of business that requires a lot of courage. Okay. So, those three things, a deep self trust, deep self belief, and courage, are what you need in terms of your energetics and mindset to really make this successful. Okay. And then obviously, you need to be able to somehow get this out to your people. Okay. So social media or blog posts or galleries or, talking about artists, but networking, all of those sort of things. We're not going into that in this live in particular. Yeah. So then, okay, I'm going to take a pause because I realize I've just dumped a whole lot of stuff. What questions have you got? What questions are coming up for you? Pop them into the chat box and let me catch up on a few comments here. Okay, Edina says on Facebook, yes, I am beginning to understand the structure piece and how that can look and work to make things that much easier, simpler, and more fun. Yes, so there's always I love this because along with this deep self trust, self belief, and courage, it really is helpful for a creative type business to have some kind of structure. So, the creative business being more of the feminine type business, and then the needs based business being more of the masculine. And if we balance the two, if we give ourselves some parameters around our creativity, it can be easier to create something more potent. Okay. So this is when we get to the part of where I advocate more of a hybrid model. Okay, so I really lean towards the creativity. I hate to cut people's creativity off. Like when people go, maybe I should just let this. There was actually a comment in my Facebook group earlier this week about maybe I should let this idea go. And I was like, I actually don't like nipping in the bud like ideas that you're so passionate about. I like to then create it in a way that maybe is going to be appealing to your people. So this is where we get to use the wisdom of both of these things, both of these models, and bring it into more of a hybrid way of doing business. So the example that Edina brought to the table is that we can have parameters around our creativity, borders around our creativity, that allow us to then create something that is really potent for our people. Okay, so if I have the understanding of the type of people I want to work with, and we're talking about niching here, okay, I understand that my people are spiritual, woo woo people. They're really into that stuff. They're really into the soul leading them. They are at their heart creators. They are creative people. They want freedom. Part of their freedom is part of the way that they create freedom is by creating what they want in their life and their business. Yeah. They don't like to be restricted by too many rules and too many things. Yeah. That they have to do. When I know that and I go, what would like to be creative through me that will serve me and my audience? Can you see how I've then created a parameter of how my creativity can come through and be expressed? Yeah. So understanding your audience is one of those parts of the needs based model of business that you can then take over to create a parameters around your creativity so that whatever is coming through that desire to be created can be made relevant to your people. I went through that very fast. So let me know if there's any questions there. What I'm trying to say is that there are parts of the needs based model, the parameters, the structures, things like that, that can really help us hone our creativity into really potent creativity. Yeah. So, creative versus needs based versus hybrid model. I lean heavily towards the creative model, obviously. Soul led, asking what's wanting to be expressed through you, coming up through your heart, getting it out there. But but I do teach a hybrid model. And what I mean by hybrid is having the mixture between the structure, the wisdom of looking at the needs of the people that you have in your audience, and also doing that in conjunction with your own creativity. Yeah. So the example that I think works really well in this is what I answered in my Soul Lead Business Revolution free Facebook group with one person who was we did an open Q&A this week, right? And I asked her, she said, maybe I need to shelve this particular offer that I have because it's something that I really want, but maybe my people don't want. So the question I said, which makes it more of the hybrid based model, yeah, taking it into the hybrid, was how could this offer that you have on the table be tweaked to meet the needs and desires of your people? Or does it meet the needs and desires of your people and you just haven't specifically said that? Okay, so we're taking some of the wisdom of the needs base is that we know that our people want that thing. And we're infusing it into what already wants to come through us. Yeah, the creative part of us. Rebel Gonzo says how to do that. You'll need to be a bit more specific because I've gone on a rant and I have no idea what that question is related to now. So what I advocate to, I definitely lean towards more of the creative thing, what actually really wants to come through you. And then we can put it through a lens of where we can make this a really effective, beautiful business by taking it into sort of more of a hybrid model. Yeah. So for example, what is it that I want to create? I create that thing, I put it all down, I get all the ideas, and then I go, okay, so now to make it relevant for my people, see how we're now bringing it down into needs based, to make it relevant for my people, what would I need to say about this? Yeah, what would need to be included so that it can be relevant to my people? Can you see how we're now filtering that? We first start with the creativity, getting it all out there, getting ourselves behind it. Then we filter it a little bit with the needs base. We tweak it, maybe just twist it a little bit around, and we end up with a hybrid model of doing business. Yeah. But as I always say, soul leads ego. Okay. And this is really what we're talking about. The creativity part is your soul. Yeah. Creative based businesses are soul led businesses. Yeah. Needs based businesses are really ego based businesses. Okay. And that's not a bad thing. It just is. So then soul leads ego. And then you end up with something like a hybrid model of doing business. Yeah. So let me know if you have any more questions. It does need a bit more digestion. I realize it's so funny. I come into these Elevate Thursdays. I'm like, oh, this is an easy topic. It's really simple. And then as I get talking, I'm like, this could have been like a huge webinar about this one thing, which I might actually do. You never know. So as you watch this again, for those of you who are watching the replay, or if you need to watch this again, please do drop me any questions that you have that are just not clear or you need clarity on. Yeah, I am more than happy to come back and answer them. I come back and I answer every single question, comment that you put down on here, whether you're watching on Facebook or whether you're watching on Instagram. Yes, creativity plus needs equals fire. That is totally right, Rebel Gongster. So thank you very much for those who have joined me on Instagram, those who have joined me on Facebook, and for those who are watching the replay. I really appreciate your time and energy. And if you feel like diving into some home play today, so this is a part that we do in the Soul Led Business Revolution. I invite you all to join my free group. The link is in the bio in Instagram. For those watching on Facebook, you'll see my links for my free Facebook group, Soul Led Business Revolution. Your home play, if you want to play for this week, is ask yourself these questions. Which one are you playing in at the moment? Which are you playing in, the creative business model or the needs-based model? Like which one it has got most of your attention? Yeah. And then which one would you rather do? Yeah. And then once you know which one you'd rather do, and I don't care which one you do, because I want you to live a really fulfilling, fun life, thriving life. Which one would you rather do? Once you know that, what needs to change in your current strategy, energy, or mindset to allow you to do that successfully? Okay. So those 3 questions are up on for exploration. If you want to play, you can come into the Soul Led Business Revolution and let us know how your exploration goes through the week. You just need a hashtag home play and pop it into a separate post. And I always answer any questions that you have about it. And I love for you to share so that other people learn as well. All right, lovelies. It's been so great hanging out with you. Thank you again for your wonderful time. And I hope that you found something really useful with this, a creative business versus a needs-based business, and you're starting to understand which one you are truly in. If you found this live particularly awesome and like, oh my gosh, I need to share this, please do. I would love for you to share it. Share it on your socials, share it to your people, tag your people in it, and let them get some of this goodness too. Lots of love. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Mwah, mwah, mwah.